come to war. We would be just derelict in our duty if we didn't make a heavy-duty pitch here for people to join the Peace Corps. Everywhere I go on campuses, people, the young men and women that are graduating and older people, I think it's 7% of the volunteers today are over 50 years of age. The next election may give us an opportunity to return to the Peace Corps. Who knows what will come of that? But whatever your age is, the Peace Corps offers you an opportunity to serve. Sam?
Well, I'd also like to mention that we could use a lot more Peace Corps volunteers because of these countries that want us. They want us to come in for the first time. They want us to grow. Vietnam is interested in getting the Peace Corps. We were just in East Timor. They were there. Were pulled out when things got unrest. They're now in peace. They want them back. Surabaya in Indonesia, there's I think 18 volunteers there now. They could grow that to hundreds of volunteers. Country wants it. The one thing that we have to do here in Congress is give them more money. Frankly, I want to really salute the President of the United States, because in these tough fiscal times where everything else has to be cut back, this year he's asked Congress to give Peace Corps more money than we gave them last year, and that's one of the bounce-up programs. We've gotten strong bipartisan support on this, and hopefully in this Congress, which is going to be mostly a cut, squeeze, and trim Congress, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. As you said, what an incredible opportunity at a time when peace might be breaking out in the Middle East. They're going to need a lot of this. You're going to need a lot of community development. You're going to need people to understand. I mean, I could go on for hours of what I just saw in East Timor, where women had 3, 4, 5 babies in houses with no electricity, mud floors, before anyone got to them and said, you know, you need to go through a prenatal discussion and some postnatal treatment. And even in that poverty, what they're just trying to do is sequence the babies so they won't be born so quickly one next to each other, because there's a high risk of low birth rate. And you know who's there right on the ground doing that is that's what Peace Corps does. And so the war on poverty never ends. The war, or the path to peace, the process for peace, as we've seen hopefully breaking out in the Middle East, that we democratic society, they're all going to need teachers. And as we need them here at home, we need them abroad. Teachers, and not just traditional reading, writing, and arithmetic, but teachings of health care and HIV prevention and so on. And I know you and Patty have dedicated your lives to that work, and what a wonderful way to celebrate on this 50th anniversary.
As you were talking about the Peace Corps volunteers working with young families, our son and daughter served in Paraguay in the Peace Corps, and her work was precisely that, working with the families in her community in Paraguay. They were also in a rural area, working on family health, on the issues of raising children, healthy children, and providing them with information about how they could better take care of their families and have a better life. Our son was involved in community development work. Our 2 daughters also served in the Peace Corps. And it's for the young men and women and other who are not so young, the Peace Corps offers an incredible opportunity to serve the world, serve this country, and to serve the needs of individuals in a one-on-one relationship in some 77 countries now, and hopefully with a small increase in the Peace Corps budget, which stands just at $400 million. And you gave a statistic earlier in your discussion that is really, I think, important. For every soldier that we send to Afghanistan, we could send 13 Americans somewhere in the world to work on the issues of poverty, the issues of education, social development, societal development, and peace. So it's 13-to-1 ratio, a great investment. Aaron Williams is the Peace Corps director. He was a volunteer in Dominican Republic in 1967 to 1970, served 3 years.
He met his wife there too, which is they're happily married, and so Peace Corps doesn't just, some Peace Corps volunteers come home with new families.
There are many, many opportunities that the Peace Corps develop, and yes, indeed, they can come home with a new family and or a wife, and you're quite correct about Aaron. 8,655 volunteers as of today, serving in 77 countries, urban, rural, in all kinds of work. Just some of the statistics are, I think, interesting. Education, 37%. And we were teachers and community development. And actually, Patty and I were involved in the smallpox eradication program, Ethiopia being one of the last countries to eradicate smallpox. Health, HIV/AIDS, 22%. Business, want to be a graduate of Harvard Business School and really get some experience? 14% of the volunteers do that.
We had a small business development in Colombia, and there was also an interesting whole bunch of people working on educational television, which the country was implementing and needed teachers of how to do that and technicians of how to run the studios and set it all up. We also had architects helping design public facilities and parks. You don't work on your own. You work with host country counterparts who are professionals like you are.
Well, a great example, there's a television reporter, cameraman in the Bay Area that's about to retire, and every time I see him, that's the San Francisco Bay Area, every time I see him, he says, I'm going to go in the Peace Corps. And I said, have you gone online, peacecorps.gov, to put your application in? He says, oh, and I said, well, the next time I see you, I want you to tell me that you have your application in. He wants to take his knowledge of reporting and television camera work, he wants to take that overseas to work with countries that are developing their own media for the purposes of providing that foundation for a democratic society. And he would be terrific. He's a great reporter.
Yeah, I think that's very important. One of the things that I did today, because I was the same conversation you were having, was somebody asked me about it who was my age and wanted to know whether I'd go in the Peace Corps. And I said, go look up the Peace Corps on the Internet. Not only that, it shows every one of those countries, 77 countries are in, and what jobs are in that country. You can go out and look around the world and see the country you want to go to and find a job that you think you're qualified to do, and that gives you a motivation to do that. It also, you know, it's not all Peace Corps volunteers live in mud huts. If you're teaching in a university or in a school in an urban area, you could be in a much more comfortable middle class setting than people out the image of sleeping in a hammock under in a mud hut. So it's all kinds of opportunities, just depending on the skill sets of you, the individual, and the needs of the host country. We are always there at the guest, being asked by the country to be there, and we do the jobs they ask us to do. So, and frankly, I think we have enough innovation, as you and I found out, that sometimes if the job isn't working exactly as I described, you just look around and see what else is needed and adapt yourself. And that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of creativity, and I think a lot of satisfaction for the volunteer.
Sam, we're just about out of time. Today, March 1st, 2011, marks the 50th anniversary, the 50th birthday of the United States Peace Corps. It's been an incredible organization all of these years. Over 200,000 Americans have served, both young and old, in some 139 countries. And so for all of those out there that want to do something very, very special with their life, well, you can Google it, or you can go directly to peacecorps.gov. Put your application in and see what the toughest job you ever love will bring to you. Congressman Sam Farr, thank you so very much for joining me this evening. For Tom Petri and
Mike
Honda, the four of us who are in Congress that remain Peace Corps volunteers, and for Lois Capps joining us and giving her perspective, a very big thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Peace Corps.